I got a pretty interesting question yesterday via email and I wanted to answer it today. In some recent videos, I've been going on and on about how great the trigger is in the Sig P320 compact here that I just bought. Well, I got a question from a viewer who knows that I'm really fond of the Beretta PX4 Storm, and they asked me, which trigger do I like better? Which one would I give the edge to? If you're going to carry one polymer gun, would I say that the PX4 Storm is the better choice, or that the Sig Sauer P320 is the better choice? Well, the answer to that question is mainly going to be based on whether you want a hammer-fired gun or a striker-fired gun, whether you want double action, single action, or double action only. But if you're going to base your decision on the triggers, which is what they were asking me specifically, I think I'm going to give the edge to the Sig P320. Now, I actually prefer a double action, single action hammer-fired gun 99% of the time. But if I was going to carry a polymer gun, I would probably want the striker-fired Sig. There's two different reasons for that. One, with the Sig, you get a consistent trigger pull all the time. This is pretty much a 5.5 pound crisp, really responsive trigger. Every time you pull it, it's the same. I think most shooters actually greatly benefit from that consistent trigger pull, especially if you don't shoot a lot. That consistent trigger pull makes you get used to the gun and keeps you from making mistakes. And it makes it where you can actually control your gun better, actually get better shot placement. With the double action, single action, it switches. It starts off with like a 9 pound double action pull, goes to a 4 pound single action pull. So sometimes people will accidentally fire off that second round accidentally because they weren't ready for that light trigger. Now, for most people, that's not going to be a problem. They're going to know that their first trigger pull is going to be a little heavier, and every subsequent pull is going to be much lighter and crisper. So that's actually going to come down to personal preference. Do you like having that heavy first pull as kind of a safety measure and then even lighter pulls afterwards? Or do you like having kind of a in the middle towards the light end pull every time with the double action only striker? So I can't really tell you which one of those you would like better, but I think that the consistent pull is better for most shooters. Now, I know this might surprise a lot of people out there because they do know that I prefer double action, single action, hammer fired guns most of the time. But I think I actually, as a general overall trigger, prefer the double action only striker fired trigger of the Sig. And I'll tell you why here with a demonstration. It's because of the way they mechanically operate. Okay, first, let's pull the trigger on the Sig P320. It is a nice, crisp 5.5 pound trigger. It hits the wall right here, and then it breaks. Very nice trigger. Now let's shoot it from the reset. Let's slowly let it out here until it resets. And you probably heard that there. It's got a nice clicky tactile reset and then almost no travel to get that same crisp 5.5 pound trigger pull. Breaks very nicely. And it's like that shot after shot. Every shot you fire, whether you let it travel all the way forward or shoot from the break, you're going to get that same consistent 5.5 pound pull and that same consistent, clean, crisp break. Now let's shoot the Beretta. First off, you take up all that travel. There's quite a bit of travel in the Beretta, and then it breaks. Now that is single action. So that's a nice, crisp, like 4.5 pound break. Now let's shoot it from the reset. Okay, there it reset. It does have a nice clicky tactile reset on it. But now notice that once I go to move the trigger from the reset, there's a lot of movement. And then you hit the wall and it breaks. Same 4.5 pound break, but a lot of movement even after the reset. And there's a reason for that. If you look at the top of the Beretta here as you're pulling the trigger, while you're taking up that travel, you'll see this little nub pop up. You're actually taking the firing pin safety out of the way so the gun will fire. That little thing has to be up right there out of the way for the firing pin to actually strike the round. And if you'll watch it here while I'm resetting, okay, there the trigger reset. And even when I'm shooting from the reset, I still need that travel to bring that little piece up out of the way, to bring the firing pin block up out of the way. So the trigger has to have that extra travel in it before it breaks. It does the same thing in a double action pull. When you're pulling the trigger back, you'll see it pops that up out of the way so that the hammer can actually strike the firing pin and the firing pin can actually strike the round. That's just part of the way this gun is designed. It's a double action, single action gun with a firing pin block that is activated by the trigger. It's just part of the design. The Sig doesn't operate in the same way, so it doesn't need to have that extra trigger pull after the reset. Once it resets, just breaks. So like I said, there's probably already going to be a lot of other factors that make the decision for you if you're trying to decide between these two very dissimilar guns. But if trigger is the thing you're really worried about the most, I think I'm going to have to give the edge to the Sig P320. It just has the better overall trigger for self-defense. So if all things are considered equal and you're not going to take manual of arms into account and you're not going to worry about having that longer, stiffer double action pull for safety, I'm going to say the Sig P320 trigger is going to be the better self-defense trigger, because self-defense is about hitting your target consistently again and again, and the nice, light, crisp, double action only, consistent trigger of the P320 is going to be the better trigger for accomplishing that task.